Top 10 mistakes project managers make. Project management often feels like balancing on a tightrope without a net. You're managing shifting requirements, diverse personalities, looming deadlines, and you have to keep everyone motivated while avoiding pitfalls that can send the entire effort crashing down. In my years of observing and sometimes making mistakes as a project manager, I've found that these 10 missteps recur across industries and team structures. Here's a closer look at how they unfold in the real world, along with some lessons on how to navigate them. 1. Letting scope creep take over. Zero scope control. Imagine you're leading a team tasked with building a new learning system. At first, everyone agrees on the core functionalities. 2 weeks later, the client decides they want additional modules and more advanced testing features. A month after that, a new stakeholder wants to integrate machine learning or tie this system into yet another platform. Suddenly, you're lost in a maze of ever-expanding deliverables. I've seen a team spin its wheels for weeks just to accommodate every small tweak, especially when the stakeholders were themselves experts in a particular field, like medicine, who kept revising course material to reflect new data. Because there was no formal change management process, each new requirement was treated like a must-have. The project, which should have taken 6 months, stretched past a year and still wasn't finished in anyone's eyes. Teams burned out, and the client became frustrated at the spiraling costs. The best remedy is to establish firm boundaries around the project scope right from the start. It's crucial to document every change request, assess its impact on both budget and timelines, and gain formal approval. Otherwise, scope creep is like an unchecked leak that can sink even the strongest project ship. 1. The ever-expanding website. A company initially planned a simple website redesign. 1. Client requests for new features, e.g., e-commerce, live chat, complex animations, kept piling on. 1. The project budget ballooned, deadlines slipped, and the final product was a bloated, confusing mess that didn't meet the original goals. 2. The feature creep software. A software development team focused on adding every conceivable feature, leading to a bloated and overly complex product. 2. Users were overwhelmed and the software was slow and difficult to use. 2. Failing to prioritize communication and collaboration. A few years ago, I was part of a project where everyone seemed to be working in their own silo. We assumed someone else was handling communications with the client, or that the product lead was. Meanwhile, the client assumed we were fully informed and aligned with the bigger picture. When certain tasks didn't get done and confusion surfaced, the project deteriorated into a blame game. "He never told me that," or "I thought she was sending that email." It turned out there was no single person designated to bell the cat, as the saying goes, no one who truly owned the communication plan. Eventually, the client grew so frustrated that they threatened to halt funding. This entire situation arose because we didn't treat communication as a priority. Meetings happened sporadically or were cancelled last minute, and status updates were often vague or incomplete. The lesson learned was crystal clear. Communication and collaboration deserve as much attention as technical execution. When teams establish regular check-ins, clear responsibilities, and open forums for discussion, misunderstandings and blame are greatly reduced. 1. The siloed marketing campaign. Different marketing teams, social media, email, content, worked independently, resulting in conflicting messages, missed deadlines, and a lack of overall brand consistency. 1. The campaign was a disorganized mess that failed to achieve its objectives. 2. The misaligned construction project. The architect, engineers, and construction crew had poor communication. 2. Misunderstandings led to design changes, material delays, and costly rework, ultimately exceeding the project budget and delaying completion. 3. Ignoring risk assessment and mitigation. I recall a project where a major client politely mentioned early on that they were worried about potential compliance issues in a particular state. The project leaders dismissed these concerns, eager to get the product launched quickly. They insisted it was too small of a risk to worry about. Lo and behold, that exact risk surfaced about a month before launch. We were forced to suspend the rollout, losing both money and credibility. Ignoring risk management is like driving a car with no insurance. You might be fine on most days, but the one day you aren't, you'll pay the price. Comprehensive risk assessment doesn't have to be elaborate or time-consuming, but it does require listening to your stakeholders and experts, then having a solid plan B if the worst happens. 1. The unforeseen hurricane. A construction project on a coastal site failed to account for the risk of hurricanes. 1. The project was severely damaged during a storm, causing significant delays and cost overruns. 2. The data breach. A company launched a new online platform without adequate security measures. 2. A cyber attack resulted in a massive data breach, damaging the company's reputation and leading to costly legal battles. 4. Poor time management. Time often feels like the easiest variable to manage, until it isn't. In one project, the assumption was that everyone has enough time to handle their tasks. The problem was, no one was holding anyone else accountable for overdue deliverables. Tasks slipped by days or weeks, and managers trusted verbal assurances of, "I'll get that done soon." By the time it was clear that tasks weren't being completed, the deadlines had snowballed beyond repair. The project ended up in a fire drill mode. People worked late nights, weekends, and morale took a beating. What could have helped were realistic timelines built on tangible, short-term goals, alongside firm check-ins that kept people accountable for each deliverable. When time is tracked properly and tasks are measured in small increments, it's easier to spot slippage and correct course quickly. 1. The delayed software launch. A software development team underestimated the complexity of the project. 1. Tasks were consistently delayed, leading to a missed launch date and significant financial losses due to lost revenue and customer dissatisfaction. 2. The late movie production. A film production faced numerous unforeseen delays, e.g., actor scheduling conflicts, equipment malfunctions, weather disruptions. 2. The production went over budget and missed its release date, impacting marketing plans and potentially harming box office performance. 5. Losing stakeholder engagement. You can often predict a project's future by observing the level of stakeholder involvement. If key stakeholders skip meetings or fail to provide input, it's a telltale sign that trouble looms. In one case, the sponsor rarely showed up to status calls. By the time we presented the final draft, their vision had changed drastically, and we had zero clue. The project had to be fundamentally reworked, draining the budget and pushing deadlines by months. What works better is making sure stakeholders have skin in the game, whether it's requiring sign-off on key decisions or setting up brief but mandatory weekly check-ins. Continuous engagement ensures alignment. If stakeholders appear disengaged early, it's wise to address it head-on rather than hoping for the best. 1. The disengaged sponsor. The sponsor of a new product development project was rarely involved in meetings or decision-making. 1. When the final product was presented, the sponsor expressed strong disapproval, requiring extensive and costly revisions. 2. The ignored user feedback. A software company failed to actively solicit and incorporate user feedback during the development process. 2. The resulting product was poorly received by the target audience, leading to low adoption rates and negative reviews. 6. Neglecting quality checks. Until the end, some teams focus so heavily on meeting deadlines that quality checks get pushed aside or saved for the final stage. I've seen a project where everyone was relieved to meet the go-live date, only to realize a core feature was buggy because no one thoroughly tested it earlier. The crisis erupted in real time as end users encountered errors on launch day. Quality, when treated as an afterthought, becomes a crisis. Integrating regular testing, code reviews, or user acceptance checkpoints throughout the lifecycle can prevent these 11th-hour emergencies. It's far less painful and far less expensive to catch issues early than to scramble in the final stretch. 1. The buggy mobile app. A mobile app was released with numerous bugs and glitches. 1. Users experienced frequent crashes, data loss, and poor performance. 1. The negative reviews and poor user experience severely damaged the company's reputation. 2. The faulty bridge. A bridge construction project lacked adequate quality control during the construction phase. 2. As a result, the bridge suffered from structural weaknesses, requiring costly repairs and raising safety concerns. 7. Refusing to recognize resource limitations. I once worked with a team where the mantra was, "We'll figure it out somehow." They stretched people thin, confident that working harder or finding shortcuts would magically solve the resource problem. Naturally, the crack in that plan came when one key developer fell ill at a critical juncture. Suddenly, there was no backup, and the entire delivery schedule was jeopardized. No amount of goodwill can fix a resource shortage if the team is genuinely understaffed or underskilled for a task. It's vital to be realistic about what your people can handle and to address deficits head-on, whether that means hiring additional help, reallocating workloads, or negotiating adjustments to scope and timeline. 1. The overworked team. A marketing team was assigned an excessive workload with unrealistic deadlines. 1. Team members were overworked and burned out, leading to decreased productivity, errors, and low morale. 2. The understaffed project. A software development project was staffed with an insufficient number of developers. 2. The project fell behind schedule, and the team struggled to maintain quality while facing constant pressure. 8. Underestimating the value of documentation and knowledge transfer. In many companies, documentation is the last thing on everyone's to-do list. We're moving fast, the mindset goes. We don't have time to write down every detail. Yet history has a habit of repeating itself. In one organization, critical lessons from a failed pilot project were never captured. A new team came in, tried the same approach, and ran into the exact same pitfalls. It's easy to overlook documentation until something goes wrong, like a key team member leaving or a complex feature being misunderstood. By regularly capturing decisions, changes, and rationales, you build a reference library that spares future teams and yourself from costly reinventions of the wheel. 1. The lost knowledge. A key employee on a critical project left the company without proper documentation. 1. The remaining team struggled to understand the project's intricacies, leading to delays and potential project failures. 2. The repeated mistakes. A company repeatedly encountered the same project management challenges because lessons learned from previous projects were not documented or shared effectively. 9. Failing to maintain team motivation and morale. Even in the most technically sound projects, a demotivated team can deliver subpar results. I recall a project where deadlines felt relentless, celebrations were non-existent, and any slip-up was met with public criticism. Over time, people started doing the bare minimum, and innovation ground to a halt. A motivated team, on the other hand, can overcome challenges that seem insurmountable. Regular check-ins that address well-being, genuine recognition for achievements, and an environment that encourages idea sharing keep morale high. When team members feel valued, they're far more likely to go the extra mile, and the project reaps the benefits. 1. The micromanaged team. A project manager excessively micromanaged the team, stifling creativity and discouraging initiative. 1. Team members became disengaged and demotivated, leading to decreased productivity and low morale. 2. The lack of recognition. A team consistently delivered successful projects but received little recognition or appreciation. 2. Team members felt undervalued and unmotivated, leading to decreased engagement and potential turnover. 10. Overlooking real lessons learned. After a project, it's common to have a lessons learned meeting, only for the notes to collect virtual dust. True lessons learned aren't just items in a slide deck. They're changes in processes and attitudes. In one company, we discovered that no one actually referenced these notes after the meeting. So the same mistakes kept cropping up, and team members would exclaim, "Didn't we run into this exact issue last year?" The phrase, "lessons to be learned," rings truer. Until you see those insights shape actual behavior, like a refined risk management protocol or a new communication routine, nothing has really changed. Embedding lessons into standard operating procedures and ensuring new hires understand them is how an organization evolves past old errors. 1. The recurring budget overruns. A company consistently experienced budget overruns on similar projects, but the underlying causes were never fully analyzed or addressed. 1. As a result, the same budget issues continued to plague future projects. 2. The ignored safety violations. A construction company experienced a series of safety incidents, but the root causes were not investigated thoroughly. 2. As a result, similar safety violations continued to occur, putting workers at risk. 11. Failing to see the bigger picture of leadership. Far too often, project managers get so fixated on tasks, deadlines, and deliverables that they lose sight of the overarching leadership role they're meant to play. I worked with a PM once who was a wizard at scheduling and budgeting, but whenever conflicts arose or stakeholders needed reassurance, he essentially froze. Rather than stepping up to clarify vision and instill confidence, he stuck to his spreadsheets, hoping the project would fix itself through sheer process. It didn't, and the team struggled with motivation and clarity until a more vocal, hands-on leader stepped in. Leadership in project management is not just about hitting milestones. It's about guiding a group of individuals, each with different strengths and motivations, toward a shared goal. Leaders listen actively, articulate a clear direction, and adapt when necessary. They also foster an environment of trust, where team members feel comfortable sharing ideas and concerns. By embracing leadership as the core of your role, beyond technical project coordination, you can turn a group of skilled individuals into a cohesive, high-performing team. 12. Neglecting to build strategic alliances. In any organization, a project manager's success often hinges on relationships. When I was newly hired at a tech startup, I dived headfirst into managing tasks and timelines without stopping to form connections with other departments or influential individuals. Little did I know that I would need the marketing director to champion our project to the executive board, or rely on the HR team to onboard the specialized talent we'd require in later phases. By the time I realized these alliances were vital, I was behind the curve, struggling to persuade colleagues who barely knew me or my project's value. Building strategic alliances isn't about politicking or mere networking. It's about forging genuine partnerships where everyone benefits from the project's success. This can involve spending time understanding each stakeholder's priorities, inviting cross-functional contributors to brainstorming sessions, or simply checking in to see how you can support their goals. When done well, alliances across departments and roles create a supportive ecosystem that propels projects forward, especially in moments of high stress or unexpected change. Conclusion: transforming mistakes into growth. In project management, mistakes are more than just hurdles. they're opportunities to refine strategies, improve processes, and build resilience. By examining real scenarios, whether it's a learning system bogged down by endless requirement changes, a blame game triggered by poor communication, or a colossal flop due to ignored risks, you realize that each pitfall has a root cause. Identifying that cause, confronting it, and adopting corrective measures is where true leadership emerges. High-performance project management isn't about avoiding every mistake. Sometimes the unexpected just happens. It's about preparing for what you can, reacting decisively when surprises arise, and constantly adapting based on the lessons you uncover. Viewed through this lens, every stumbling block becomes a stepping stone, guiding you toward better project outcomes and a more cohesive, motivated team.